My name is William from 222 Productions, and I am here to talk to you about American Ninja Warrior Season 11, the Los Angeles Finals episode, in approximately 20 minutes or less. But before we begin, I actually have a question to ask all of you. So, last week I asked you about making up a ninja boy band, and that was a lot of fun, and that got me thinking. We're in the LA Regional again this week, and normally that's where they would film Celebrity Ninja Warrior, except they chose not to do that this year. They did something else for Red Nose Day. And so that got me thinking. With Drew Lachey running last week, and we've had sports stars, Olympians, race car drivers, a Power Ranger, a couple of former Survivor contestants run the show before. I want to know, if you could have any celebrity run the course, the main American Ninja Warrior course, and compete on the show like Drew Lachey did last week, who would you choose, why would you choose them, and how well do you think they would do? Would they reach Vegas? Let me know in the comments below. So, with that said, hello, my name is William, 222 Productions. I'm here to talk to you about the American Ninja Warrior Season 11 Los Angeles Finals in approximately 20 minutes or less, starting right now. This was a really enjoyable episode. There's a few things that I didn't care for, but on the whole, really liked it. I actually liked it more than the LA qualifiers, so that's good. And yeah, 2 weeks in a row where I could say, yeah, overall, I really liked the episode. So let's just go over the course really quickly. Of course, we still have the striding steps. We have walk the plank still. One thing that was mentioned, that it did come from the obstacle design contest. It was designed by Jeff Thompson, so good job, Jeff. Of course, we still have spring forward, the diamond dash, the spin hopper. Spin hopper was definitely changed. They removed one of the holds coming down, but I would still say that the obstacle is overall easier, because when you look at the actual holds, there's not as much spinning. Not as many of them spin, and they're a bit tighter, it felt like. So it felt like an easier obstacle overall, which makes sense, honestly, because they want people to get to the back half. And then, of course, we have the warped wall, the salmon ladder. Then we have the return of the hinge. So the hinge, I wasn't a big fan of it last year. I'm still not the biggest fan, but it's, you know, I guess it's grown on me a little bit. I don't hate it, but it's not like, I wouldn't consider it like a top tier obstacle, you know? I do like that, I do like that Matt refers to it as a spider flip maneuver that you have to do. I think that's a nice touch. And I would say that, you know, it's fine as it is. And then there's a new obstacle called the Leaps of Faith. So you start with two handholds like this. The backside is covered up. So you swing, you jump, you grab two handholds that are forward, but as soon as you grab them, they're going to turn like this on you. Turn 90 degrees, so you're holding them like this. You then swing, you grab another set of handles like this, and then you have to swing, and when you get to the last handle, it's only one handle, you have to grab it backwards. The reverse blind catch. And then from that catch, you have to jump to the platform. That blind catch is very challenging. It is very difficult. It's a real test, as we kind of saw. Like almost no one passed it. Very, very few people passed it. I think was it like 9 clears last year in LA, and this year we only had 2. So significantly harder this time, the 9th obstacle, and it makes me wonder if we're going to see any more of those blind catches throughout the season. I guess we'll have to see. There's also another aspect of the Leaps of Faith that I feel like we gotta talk about, and let's just say this is a reference to later on in the episode, but this might be necessary depending on your strategy, so yeah, safety first when attempting the Leaps of Faith. And then we have the return of the spider trap. I personally don't know if there's any difference between the spider trap last year and this year. I think maybe the walls are heavier, but that is something I cannot confirm at the moment. That is speculation on my part. So I just want to, I guess, generally I talk about everyone for the most part. I think one thing I just really want to talk about is the bit of the reversal of fortune for the women. So if you remember last time, the cutoff point was the walk the plank for the women. And two women failed walk the plank, being who made it to the top five, failed walk the plank, that being Tiana Waverly and Anna Shoemaker. But in a, I guess, bizarre twist of fate, of the five women, Tiana and Anna actually went on to become the only two women to complete walk the plank. The other three women, Emmy Rose, Samantha Bush, and Rebecca Benil, all failed walk the plank, unfortunately. So we didn't. So it became a pretty easy trip to Vegas for Tiana and Anna. It's rather unfortunate. I have a feeling that walk the plank is just an obstacle that really puts shorter competitors at a disadvantage, and the women, generally speaking, tend to be shorter than the men. This is just generally speaking. So it's kind of unfortunate that it turned out that way. But I guess just to kind of to finish talking about the women, Anna, she did beat walk the plank, but man, she had a hard landing on her back. She ended up failing the warped wall, and Tiana ended up reaching all the way, going all the way to the hinge. She was very happy to clear walk the plank. They did touch up on the fact that she didn't compete in Vegas last year because of a leg injury. And that's everything for the women. And unfortunately, they didn't have a large presence due to 3 of the 5 of them only clearing one obstacle. But unfortunately, that's just the way it goes sometimes. They started the show with Brian Burke, who, for those of you who don't remember, he's the autistic gymnast student. I want to say he's a student who does gymnastics, if I remember correctly. He did clear qualifiers, but he it was a very long promo. That's one of the things that I felt like they gave him a lot of time, maybe too much time. One of the things that they mentioned that at this point is that 12 rookies were in final, which I think is really cool. But he had a really fun run, especially the hinge. He had a huge save on the hinge. He was at the last plank and he almost slid off. His feet were on the landing platform, and he was like, ah, but he held on. And he saved himself. He did go out on leaps of faith, like most people. And he's gone to Vegas. Basically, I guess, slight spoilers, everyone who failed the leaps of faith are moving on to Vegas. And no one else. Basically, if either you failed leaps of faith, or you cleared the whole course, or you didn't move on to Vegas. So, just to give you an idea. Some fast forwards. Anthony Trucks failed the spin hopper, and Thomas Coughlin surprisingly failed spring forward, which was surprising. And then they had Verdale Benson. He had another good run. This was another good run to watch. His save on the diamond dash is he essentially did the body surf on one of them. He had the other side. That was fun. That was a lot of fun to watch. He's a Bronze Star Army vet. He also made a good save on the salmon ladder. That was exciting to watch. Saves are fun to watch. Saves on the course are fun to watch. And we start off with 2 good runs with saves. He also went out on the leaps of faith, except he was just completely tired at that point. He unfortunately. You could tell he was tired because his attempt at making a laché was very off the mark, and that's just an indicator of how tired he was. Let's see. They did a couple of promos for Universal Studios, which I think might contribute to the fact that that there were 6 people who got cut completely. If they didn't have to do that, we might have seen him in some capacity. Kevin Bull was very fast. 30 seconds through to the 5th obstacle, 2.5 minutes to the 9th. And when they mentioned this is where once again, I was just missing that clock. I was just like, man, I wish the timer was on the screen. By my recollection, the only time they showed the clock was Flip Rodriguez's run. And he was towards the end of the show. And so it was just very frustrating, especially when for ones where people are going fast. It's like, just show the clock, please. Please. I hate using this word. It comes off a little lazy in the editing because you're just removing information. You're not adding information. You're only kind of sort of adding it when it's convenient. And so it just feels like you're doing less work. It does annoy me. Like I said, I still like this episode, but that is one of my gripes, and I think it's really highlighted when, like, I'm pretty sure Flip was the only run, and maybe, I think Hunter after him, I think they showed him also, showed the clock on his run, but, like, last two runs? Like, really? That's disappointing. Unfortunately, Kevin Bull missed the blind catch of the leap of faith. This was a cool one. Joanna Bonner is a gondolier who maneuvers Venetian boats. I really like this segment. I think it was just fun to watch, and like he ended up going out on the hinge. He actually went out very early on the hinge. He couldn't make the transfer from the salmon ladder. He basically went out right away. He's not going to Vegas, but it was fun. Wesley Silvestri, they showed fast forward, failed the hinge, and Adam Rail also failed the blind catch of Leaps of Faith. And then they had Brian Kretsch, and they featured his dad. They had a profile piece about his dad. I've met his dad at National Ninja League Season 2 finals during the third wave of runners for Stage 1. Brian sat his father down in the audience, and it just happened to be right next to me. And there was a moment early on where Brian was doing a course run, a demo, showing people how to run the course. And after Brian completed the course, there was this really cool moment where Brian's dad, like, I guess tapped me on the shoulder or something like that, and he said, "That's my boy." You can tell that Brian's dad is very proud of him. And then you could tell in this profile piece too, that Brian's dad is very proud of him and very supportive of his Ninja Warrior desires, dreams. Yeah, it's, I guess because I've met the guy, I really like this promo. One thing I didn't like though, and this is not Brian's fault, is that they started his run midstream. They started at the spin hopper. In fact, him and Flip both, they started at the spin hopper. You didn't get to see the full run, which is really frustrating because there are people who failed Obstacle 9 and you saw their full run. So of the two runs that completed the whole course, you saw less obstacles being completed than people who did worse than them. And that's just frustrating. Stuff like that's frustrating. I remember I talked about that last year in, what was it? I think it was like the Miami Regional or something like that. It's the one that Drew Dreshel, Jesse Graff, and Ryan Stratus were at. I want to say that's Miami. But I could be wrong. That was in regards to last year. It was just very frustrating to kind of see that catch-off point. But Brian Kretsch, I was just really excited to just see this run. Him make that catch was great. Him struggling up the spider trap, that's it, and kind of just seeing his reaction is why I think that the walls are heavier. But seeing him hit that buzzer, which is apparently the first time he's cleared a regional finals course since Season 4, which is crazy to me. But he ended up clearing, and he's guaranteed to go to Vegas. Great to see. And then we had I think Corey McCoy is the one where was the fast forward segment where Matt was like, "What a difference a few weeks make." And this is a nitpick, but I will continue to mention it until they stop doing it. But I hate that they refer to, that they pretend like the regional finals and regional qualifiers are weeks apart, when in reality they are it's literally one day. They film the qualifiers, then they film the finals the next day. But on the show, they act like that the order that the episodes air is the order that the episodes were filmed, which is not true, and I hate that they do that. They're the only show that I'm aware of, the only reality show that acts like that. And it's frustrating as hell. And I want them to stop doing it. And I will continue to mention this until they stop it. I don't know if they ever will, but like, you don't really have to acknowledge that they're filmed back to back. Just don't act like they were filmed weeks apart. That's all I'm saying. Don't literally say what a difference a few weeks make. Stuff like that. That's annoying. I just remember the Zanique Lavette a few years ago, the profile where she acted like she trained for the Warped Wolf for weeks in between the regional qualifiers and regional finals, when that's just not true, because she wouldn't have had time to do it. Stuff like that just annoys me. Danielle Levaya, Olympic medalist, multiple silver and bronze medalists in gymnastics. The profile was kind of weird because it's like he's trying to get in Hollywood, and based on the clip that they showed, he's got some work to do, in my opinion. And they talked about, like, when he first cleared the course in the qualifiers, he looked at Akbar, but not his girlfriend. He's like, oh, I should look at his girlfriend. I don't get the whole not looking at my girlfriend thing. It's like, you're in the zone, dude. It's okay to not look at your girlfriend. If your girlfriend's that petty that you didn't look at her, oh, come on. You were excited about clearing. He ended up doing a big wipeout on the leaps of faith. The big flip. He got a big lâché, but just I don't remember what happened. I think he just lost his grip. Maybe he overextended himself on the pumping. But yeah, it was weird. Lee Cates failed the hinge. Scott Wilson failed the leaps of faith, and David Alvarez failed the spin hopper. And then we had Chad Flexington, aka Ben Udi, who is I like the contrast of this profile. They're like, he's a normal berry farmer by day, but then by night he's Chad Flexington. I love the Chad Flexington. I've said this before. I am 100% in favor of ninjas who want to have fun on the course in a way that is not detrimental to the actual run. Like, dressing up in costumes, I am all for that. Having, like, goofy profiles, I am for that, provided that it's funny and not, like, stupid cat things, like last week. At one point he was doing elbow drops on the steps after the warped wall. That, I would say, don't do that, because that could negatively affect your run. Even though it was kind of entertaining, it's like, don't actually do that, dude. Because that, in theory, could have hurt you. But, you know what? Chad Flexington, really support him, and he made it to the leaps of faith, which means he's going to Vegas, and odds are they're going to show his run. I'm looking forward to see how he does in Vegas. We need more Chad Flexington. Big ups on that. This was disappointing. They fast forward Kyle Soderman to kind of coincide with a Universal Studios promo, but unfortunately he failed the salmon ladder. It's so unfortunate. And he's out. He's not moving on. And they mentioned that in the qualifiers he should have went for the speed pass, and it's like, well, I mean, they have a point. In hindsight, yeah, he easily could have beaten David Campbell's time in the qualifiers in order to go onto the power tower against Hunter. Could he have beaten Hunter? I don't know. He could have. I can't say for sure that, yes, he definitely would have, but it's possible. Because I know they are, similar skill level, I would say. But yeah, in hindsight, Kyle really could have used the speed pass. Seeing him fail Sam Ladd was disappointing because, like, I know he's better than that. I know he can do really well. It's just unfortunate, and hopefully they'll have him back. But I know he's good. It's just it didn't work out this time. And then they showed Kevin Fish, who failed the hinge. Then we move on to Flip Rodriguez. They did a whole thing about how he went to the military to talk about sexual assault and his past and all that, and it was a good segment. You know, it was done in a way that I felt was tasteful and inspirational and hopeful, and I like how he was presented. And honestly, like, you know, the work that Dave is doing in regards to education and help in regards to sexual assault is great, and I hope a lot of good comes from what he's doing. And he did well. He ended up going faster than Brian Kretsch. He ended up clearing the whole course. The only other person besides Brian, he did beat Brian by more than a minute, almost just shy actually of a minute and a half. So he does finish with the top time of the night. It's just unfortunate that we only got to see from the spin hopper on, because I feel like you could have easily shortened his profile piece in order to give us his full run. That's what I feel like. You could have shortened it, and it's unfortunate. Davon Hancock's just missed clearing the hinge, which resulted in him just missing going to Vegas. I remember Davon last year. He made it to Vegas last year. Unfortunate, he didn't make it. Seth Rogers and David Campbell both failed leaps of faith in the fast forwards. I'm glad to see them both move on. Seth Rogers is someone that you should not sleep on, and David Campbell is, of course, David Campbell, and I think he can do well. The final run of the night that they showed was Hunter Gerard, who cannot be eliminated because he had the speed pass. And so, you know, basically they told you he's going to go fast, and because he's going to go for the safety pass. It makes sense. He was looking good. He was going fast, and then he got to the leaps of faith. Basically what happened was he got to the second to last set of holes, and he tried skipping the last set, basically swinging directly to the finishing platform. And you can tell that Madan Akbar did some ADR for this run, because they were like, oh, looks like he's going to skip the last rung, which, like, how would they know that? But unfortunately for Hunter, he hit his head on the last set of handholds, like right around here, I'd say, and it looked bad. And they probably boosted the sound or did some ADR on it, but it sounded bad. It looked nasty. It looked bad, and in the replay, it looked even worse. And then he came up out of the water, and he was just blood just streaking down his face. It was bad. It was really bad. It was like there was just a big reaction where I was just like, oh God, oh. Because I knew it was a bad hit to the head, and seeing the blood was oof. Yeah. So hopefully he just needed stitches. I don't want to hear that he has a concussion or got a concussion. I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah. So he doesn't get to go to the power tower. Only 2 finishers, so figuring out who goes to the power tower pretty easy. Number 1 seed Flip Rodriguez, number 2 seed Brian Kretsch. They end up swapping shirts, which is really cool. Is shine of respect. One thing, so there's a few things I want to mention. New power tower. So, 2 things I want to mention. The first thing is the LA City Finals power tower is different from the Baltimore one a little bit, and I imagine the rest of them. I think they changed it up. So, for LA, there's like a starting platform that folds down after they start. In Baltimore, it was a rope. They were actually at the very top where the buzzers are, and they have to go down a rope. I believe that's what it's like for the other regionals. So you'll see that presumably next week. So they have to make their way through a series of upper body obstacles. So first you have the rings from Sonic the Hedgehog 3. You have their square rings, so you got to climb up that. And then you have the cones, the atomic cone handhelds. And then you finish off with a pair of bungee monkey bars. And then from the monkey bars you jump to the finishing platform and hit your buzzer. First to do it wins the safety pass. The two, they start off well enough on the rings, but the cones is what made all the difference. Flip was faster through the cones. He skipped the final cone. Brian got a little held up. In the end, Flip finished first. He was a full ladder ahead of Brian. Brian ended up finishing the course too eventually. But Flip won the safety pass, which means he is allowed to fail Stage 1 or Stage 2 once, and if he does, he will be able to get granted one redo. And we'll get to see, a little over a month now, how that will affect the gameplay, how it will affect everything, really. But, you know, Flip's someone who might not need it. You know, he's come close to completing Stage 2 before, so it might just come down to he doesn't need it. So it'll be interesting to see. Flip is someone who could make good use of that safety pass. So let's just get through some of the results. So yeah, overall fun episode to watch. A few gripes with the editing mostly, but as a whole, very enjoyable overall. Taking this off because it's hot. So here's some. There was 33 competitors overall who ran the course. We only saw 9 full runs and then 2 runs that started mid-progress, which is a little disappointing in terms of run total, but it's kind of expected for the finals, unfortunately. We saw 16 fast-forwards, which means, unfortunately, 6 people got cut. So we had, just to go for all the results, we had 3 people who failed Walk the Plank in Emmy Rhodes, Samantha Bush, and Rebecca Bonille. We had 2 people who failed Spring Forward in Stephen Barabito, who was cut, and Thomas Coffrin. No one failed Diamond Dash. We had 4 people fail the Spin Hopper in Anthony Trucks, Arnold Hernandez, who was cut, Noah Garfield, who was cut, and David Alvarez. We had 1 fail at the Warped Wall, 2 fails at the Salmon Ladder, which were Kyle Soderman and Ruben Ariano, who was cut. We had 8 fails on the Hinge with Lee Cates, Wesley Silvestri, Jonah Boomer, Dana Haycox, Austin Siebert, who was cut, Kevin Fish, and Corey McCoy. Those are some of the people who failed the Hinge. And here are your people moving on to Vegas. We have the Speed Pass winner, Hunter Gerard, who failed the Leaps of Faith. He is moving on regardless of this list. And then we had Flip Rodriguez, who won the Safety Pass, and Brian Kretsch, who both cleared the course. And everyone else in the top 12 failed the Leaps of Faith. That would be Kevin Bull, Daniel Levia, David Campbell, Scott Wilson, Adam Rail, Seth Rogers, Ben Udi, Brian Burke, Hunter Swan, who was cut, and Verdale Benson. And your top 2 women are Tiana Weberly, who failed the Hinge, and Anna Shoemaker, who failed the Warped Wall. And that, my friends, are all my thoughts on American Ninja Warrior Los Angeles. I almost said Las Vegas. We're not there yet. We're not even close to there yet. Los Angeles. This is the Los Angeles finals. Those are all my thoughts. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Answer the poll if you liked the episode or not. And make sure you subscribe for more episodes just like this so you know exactly when they go live. And I will see you all next week, where we'll be reviewing American Ninja Warrior once again in the Atlanta regional, the Atlanta finals. We get to see Drew Dreschel again. We get to see Jessica Clayton again. Jessica Clayton again. Ryan Stratus, hopefully. Brett Sims, hopefully. Kevin Carbone, hopefully, and many others. That's just a smattering of people off the top of my head who are running next week. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Later.